So I mean, so then getting into the polo and being recognized and being
it's a huge deal, you know.
But how did that come about? How did that?
That came about because for two things. I was talking to Rakim Supreme Shabazz, who's also known as Rudy Lowe, one of the early Low Lives, one of the founders, and he knew I taught here, and he felt I did things for the community. I was a positive builder, and then he saw what I did in hip hop.
And he also had knowledge himself.
Right, yeah. And he also knew really the writer I call the father of my element. Because what I did in hip hop is overtly say that what I'm doing is an element. It's creative, hear how it is. Like I'm doing it blatantly. But to me, Bones Malone was the father. He's the guy that I thought of, like, yo, he writes creative shit and it's like, it's like art. And he was the model that was in my head in hip hop. Of course, I always tell people that the real model I studied though was not Bones Malone because I didn't want to bite him. So I didn't read his stuff. I just saw what he was doing. The guy I looked to was Amiri Baraka because Amiri Baraka did everything in hip hop. I mean, in jazz that I would like to do in hip hop. You know what I mean? He was embedded in the culture. He wrote creatively. He wrote poetry. He wrote prose. But everything was considered jazz. Like he was always part of that culture, everything he wrote. So if he wrote a poem, it was considered in that lexicon of jazz. And I was like, yo, what if I wrote hip hop stuff? Like I wrote a damn poem, but it's in the lexicon of hip hop. Right. That was really my goal. And I felt the only way I could do it was like inject that into the technical pieces, like a technical review about music or music albums and things like that. But that's really where I started. And when I was building with Rakim Supreme Shabazz, he was telling me, yo, you know, you could be in the Low Lives, and I was like, you know, I got like one pair of boots, like, I have one shirt, like I didn't even wear polos. I remember I used to tell Lifa, you know, I said I don't know about these polo shirts. I feel like I look dumb in them. Like I used to say that I haven't worn one in so long. You know what I mean? And you know he loves polo. He's, you know, so he was like, come on, that's not you're gonna look, you know. He's like, you gotta do it. He's like, you gotta do it. And I was like, yo, I'm not the tallest guy. I look silly if I wear shirts with animals on it. You know what I mean? Right? That's what I was telling him. And but then I was writing so many things, and Low Lives really flooded. Thurston Howe wanted all the artists that were Low Lives to flood everything. They started to do lone lyric shows. You know what I mean? So everybody that was Low Life was really flooding. All these great MCs, you know, from Billion Man Rebellion, Spit Gems, DJ Ronin, like everybody you could think of that was Low Life was doing something and putting it all in there. And I was going to these shows and documenting Shabam Shadiq, like everybody. They're not all original Low Lives, but they were in that movement, right? Shazzo York, so many people. And it happened.
Those are like honorary members.
Yeah, well, some of them were Low Lives before, but they became artists, you know? So Sean Price, who I knew, and I never wrote a piece on Sean Price ever. He never let me. You know what I mean?
He won't let you.
He was like, I don't need it. You know what I'm saying? And we would talk about like where he's from, because he's from around a law school in Medina and he's from Brownsville. Right, you know what I'm saying? And he has blood relations to Akbar. So he's related in that way. And I can't remember exactly because it was a conversation we had a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? And he would definitely have made fun of me if I took out my pet phone and started taking notes. Because he didn't want me to write about him. So I was like, oh shit. And see, there go. My old school reporting just failed. But what happened is during his wake, when we went to that wake, right? And remember, it was infamous, the wake, because Action Bronson got confronted by Papa Wu. Everybody I was on the other side, and everybody on the other side thought it was going to be a bigger problem if he came that way. Because I had written bad about Action Bronson a lot, and I wasn't going to lie and say, hey, peace, you know? I just going to say, listen, Action, you know, it's peace. I don't really write well of you, you know, just so you know. Like, I tell artists that, you know what I'm saying? Right. Like, don't, you know, I'm not going to be all, right? I write very critically and very, you know, against a lot of things that you said, that you write, that you make.
I'm familiar with you.
Right? And so and I remember I was with Wise Ruler, I was with B-Born, one of the original IBM dancers, who's part of also a group with J Love and dope MCs too. And all these ciphers of hip hop emerged, and later on, during that, after all that quelled down and it got later at night, Spit Gems and others were trying to describe me as a writer to someone else. And they were saying he's not a regular writer. So I was in the middle of being flattered, but then somebody broke through, like they actually pushed everybody out. And Thurston Howell burst through the crowd and he said, he's not a writer, he's the skill illustrator. And then like, everybody's like, oh, okay, all right, okay, right? Because it's actually the god B-Born, right? Who told you was the original IBM dancer, danced for Nice and Smooth, and he became an MC. He's the one that used to called Thurston Howell III skillionaire, like, because he's got so much skill.
He's a 5% too.
Right, B-Born is a 5%.
Right.
Yeah, and he called him the skill illustrator. He called him skillionaire. And that's where Thurston Howell kept flipping the skill thing.
Okay.
So I was like, yo, if he flips the skill and gives me a name, I get to use that. You know what I mean? So I started writing Sunez, aka Skill Illustrator. But I didn't write low yet, because I wasn't a low life. But then Rakim was like, he knew all this, and then Bones Malone, another original low life. Right? Bones Malone was actually part of the low lives. Right? He told Rakim that I was the only writer he read, and I was like floored. It was like, Jordan saying that to Kobe, that you're a dope kid, And I was like, wow, it was like the greatest honor. And he said, we gotta put you in the low lives, you know what I mean? So all I thought then was like, I gotta buy some more clothes.
So at this point, you didn't even have no real clothes.
No, I had some pieces, but nothing really like that, you know what I'm saying? Okay. And a lot of times when
this is after you had knowledge, though. This is like 2015. I've been teaching at the school for over 15 years, and I've had it for so you mean to tell me when I first came to the school in 2014, well, not when I first came to the school, but when I first came, I met you in 2014. You weren't even a low live at the time.
No, I just knew many. I knew many low lives. I was just already embedded. I was writing so much music. I was very embedded, but I wasn't. I just, And my goal, I never really can afford or get the greatest pieces, so I always just try to get unique pieces, or do something unique to them, like a patch or something like that, because that was always in the old hip hop culture. You know what I mean? Patching up your stuff, making it uniquely yours. But to get your L's, you have to show your clothing at the Low Goose and a Deuce to make it like an official event. Low Goose and a Deuce was where the boosters used to come and collect their stuff and then re-up and all that kind of stuff and meet up there. So it became the place where now they would just have these fashion shows, and Rack Low does these incredible contests for who has the best clothes, and you see stuff you've never seen before. You literally see stuff you've never seen before. And so I go there, I dress from head to toe low, and I tried to get something that I thought would be a little special. And when I was there, I showed my pieces and everything, right? I showed this guy this, I got the, and Sadat X was there, the guy, because he's also low life. And it was crazy because he was hyping me on, like he was, his Sadat X voice. He was like, the guy got it, how we do. And it was like I was in a hip hop song. It was like I was in hip hop. It was awesome because everything. If Sadat X hypes you up, just talking, it's different. It's different. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, I got the Ranger boots. I got the, you know what I mean?
So you got hyped yourself.
Yeah, it's Sadat X going, yeah, with his high pitched voice. I was like, yo, that shit is so fly. And I remember it was Sun Low. I was showing my pieces to Sun Low, Ayak, you know what I mean? Piece to Sun Low, and it was great. And in that community, I've been able to build, been able to, get down with other artists, show this as a culture, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people look down on the low lives now, but they're a lot more civilized than people think.
Well, like I said, first of all, I didn't know that you, because I thought when I met you in 2014 that you were, part of the movement already.
Right.
But I also know that, throughout the years, the low lives and the 5%. I mean, they have a very interesting relationship. You know, there are those who are, you know, have a fashion sense and are part of that community, but then there are those who are, nah, man, I ain't gonna wear, you know, Ralph Lauren, the white man clothes, and you know.
Yeah. So a lot of people that get on me, they say that, but they're wearing corporate clothing anyway. You know, so in America, how hard it's very difficult to get around corporate clothing. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, for what I can afford and what I can do, these clothes have lasted me for a long time. Like a lot of times, I'll be wearing a piece that's from 2012, and people do you have a 10-year-old t-shirt? Most people don't have a 10-year-old t-shirt. You know what I mean? I have 10, 12-year-old t-shirts that I still wear, and people are like, yo, that's nice.
Test of time.
Yeah, you know, and I'm not doing athletics with it. It's not like I'm doing kung fu with it, so they last. You know what I mean? So it's been on that level. But because I'm in the low lives, to actually show that as my uniform and show like, listen, this is a hip hop representation. It shows that like we can dress well, we can dress manly. These things have a lot of impact on the community of what we would say the 85, the people out there. You know what I mean? So it means something that we're putting in a very masculine form of dress out there. When the low lives really started flooding in the 2012, 13, 14, a lot of stuff was getting very feminine. It was it wasn't uncommon to take the L train and see men with skirts. You know what I'm saying? And doing all kinds of stuff. And the difference is that now when you see that, those people are blatantly either gay or queer, and that is their culture, that's their lifestyle. But you started to see it with people that were not gay. And were heterosexual, they were masculine, they wanted to get with women, and they're wearing skirts. So I feel like the low life movement helped, you know, stop a lot of that bullshit. You know, you're not part of that shit. Don't dress the part of the role of something that you're not. You know what I'm saying?
If Mecca did this.